Today I'm going to be refurbishing this 8-speed Campagnolo Record Ergo lever. It's going on an early 90s Eddie Merckx that I'm building, and everything else on the build is pristine. This lever, however, is a little bit scruffy. If we take a closer look, we can see that the laser etched logo is almost entirely worn away and there are a lot of scratches on the lever. So what I'm going to do is use some wet and dry paper, starting with a coarse grip paper, working my way down to a fine grip paper, to take the milky anodized finish and the remnants of the logo and the scratches off this lever and then polish it up to a nice shine. The difficult part about this is getting the lever blade off the body without damaging anything. So we can simply put it on top of a vise and strike the pin here with a drift, but we'll find it's very stiff. So we run the risk of cracking the body, denting the lever, or chewing up the end of the pin. So I've got a technique that will make getting this blade off really simple. Okay, so if we look at the underside of this lever, we can see there's little plastic bushing that the pin goes through, and it's this little plastic bushing that provides the friction that stops the lever from falling apart. This one, you can see there's a slot across the back of it. Now if you put your finger in there, you can actually rotate that little bushing. So you might find when you look at yours you can't see the slot, you just have to rotate it until the slot is visible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put into that slot a screwdriver, just the blade of a screwdriver, just to provide a little bit of pressure to open up that slot, and then I'm going to put some tape around this screwdriver and tape it to the handle, so that when I rest this on the vise there's a little bit of pressure on that, a little bit of outward pressure on that bushing, and then it'll actually be really quite straightforward to drift that pin out. Okay, so I've taped the screwdriver in place. It's holding the bushing open slightly. I'll use this Torx bit from a screwdriver. It's got a nice flat end, it won't scratch or slip. Just going to rest that on there, tap it gently with a hammer, and that pin will drift out. Okay, if we take a look at this, that pin has drifted out. I can just pull that the rest of the way with my hand or with a pair of pliers, and we're ready to go. Now that I've got the blade of the lever all shiny, the last thing I want to do to this ergo lever is replace this paddle here. It's a little bit pitted here, and it's going to be a right faff for me to sand down and polish that with its sort of intricate shape there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out this paddle for this one, which I've taken off another lever that was broken in some other way. And I take care when I do this to put the pieces out in exactly the same order that I've removed them. Now this paddle lever has got a spring through here, so when I take this off I want to be careful that the spring doesn't go flying. There we go. This is actually the older version of these ergo levers. The later versions of these ergo levers have a return spring, a counter spring I should say, rather than a return spring, a counter spring, which is designed to counter the spring tension in the derailleur, and it makes dismantling them a lot more complicated. I'll do another video on a later generation ergo lever at some other stage. So now I'm going to remove the spring for the paddle, if I can get it out. This next piece to come out is the index carrier. So on the right hand lever this has got indents for each of the gears. On the left hand one it's a micro ratchet, so you can finely control the position of the front derailleur. Okay, that's actually come out all in one chunk there with its with the spring carrier, the springs and the ratchet all in one go, which is fine because I'm not going to do anything with that. Off comes a little washer. The next challenge is I need to turn this lever around and take off the spring which controls the return of this piece here. In order to remove this spring, I'm going to tack it from this side because it's attached there to the body and here to the paddle. So I'm just going to slip this screwdriver down in here and hopefully I can pull off that spring off that lever there. It's very fiddly. There we go. I need to push this pivot through from this side so it'll come out the other side. It will be very stiff because it's been in there for a long time. So I'm just going to push this screwdriver into the middle of it, and I'm probably going to have to give it a little bit of a tap. I think that's got it. Okay, so this is the other side now. I've pushed that through and I'm just going to tease this up now to take it out. Oh, it's going to be very stiff indeed. It's also quite fiddly to take it out whilst it's clamped in a vise. There we are. That's coming out now. There we are. So, that's it. All removed. So now all that remains is for me to clean it up and put it back together again. Okay, so I've cleaned it up and lubricated it. And now I'm going to put the pivot back through. That goes in from the front. And hopefully it will go in a bit easier than it came out. Although I'm not holding out much hope because it's quite fiddly. need to rotate that so that it finds the ratchet. Just going to pop a Allen key in the front of that and turn it round until it finds the ratchet. There we go. Right, that's all back in. Next step is to put that spring back in. Okay, so that's hopefully got that side of it in the right place. Now I just need to hook this side round. Maybe slightly easier said than done. Yep, that was right. Spring carrier. And the ratchet back in. That's the carrier. Make sure the springs are in the right orientation. Next thing I need to do is put the ratchet back into the carrier. I've already put the spring into the ratchet. This peg on the top of the spring here needs to be lined up with a hole that you can see by looking up in here. And this is fiddly. There we are. And what I'm going to do is put an Allen key in the bolt at the back and twist it round just to make sure that everything's centered on the shaft. That's all good. The next thing we need to do is put the paddle back on. Go through there. And this is just a question of pulling it across like so. And the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle, we need to put the bolt with its washer on through this hole and tighten it all up. Okay, so there we have it. All working nicely, nice and shiny. New paddle on it. Just need to get it on the bike and get a hood on it now. Thanks for watching.